You have told yourself a lie today. You probably do not know which one. That is the point. That is exactly the point. Because the most sophisticated deception your brain runs is not on other people, it is on you. And the discovery that revealed this was not the result of a grand scientific mission. It was an accident. A mistake inside an experiment that was supposed to be about something else entirely. And what it uncovered about the human mind changed everything we thought we knew about why you do what you do. Let us start in 1959. Leon Festinger was a social psychologist at Stanford University who had spent years studying how people change their beliefs. Not how they should change them, how they actually do. And what he kept finding was something that made no logical sense. People who were presented with evidence that contradicted their beliefs did not update their beliefs. They strengthened them. The more you showed someone they were wrong, the more convinced they became that they were right. Festinger called what he was seeing cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort produced when two contradictory things are both held as true at the same time. But what he did not yet know was how far the brain would go to make that discomfort stop. So he ran an experiment, a boring one. On purpose, he hired participants to perform an excruciatingly tedious task for an hour, turning pegs, sorting spools, mindless, repetitive, spirit-draining work. Afterward, he asked some of them to tell the next participant waiting outside that the experiment had been wonderful. Fascinating, really worth their time, a complete lie. Some participants were paid $1 to tell this lie, others were paid $20. Then Festinger asked all of them a simple question: how much did you actually enjoy the experiment? Here is what logic would predict. The people paid $20, a significant sum in 1959, should feel fine about the lie. They were compensated. The people paid only $1 should feel worse because they lied for almost nothing. The opposite happened. The people paid $20 rated the experiment as boring. Of course they lied, they told themselves. They were paid well for it. But the people paid only $1, they rated the experiment as genuinely interesting, enjoyable even. Because their brain could not tolerate the alternative. It could not hold both truths at once. I am a good, honest person. And I just lied to a stranger for almost no reason. That gap was too painful. So the brain closed it, not by admitting the lie. By rewriting the memory of the experience itself, the task became interesting because it had to become interesting. Because if it did not, then what did that make you? That is the accident. Festinger was studying persuasion. He stumbled onto something much larger. The discovery that your brain is not a recording device. It is a storytelling device. And the story it is most committed to telling is the story of you as a coherent, reasonable, consistent person even when the evidence does not support it. Neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga spent decades studying patients whose left and right brain hemispheres had been surgically separated to treat severe epilepsy. What he found in these split brain patients was something he eventually called the interpreter, a system in the left hemisphere of your brain whose entire job is to generate explanations for your behavior after the fact, without access to the real reason. In one experiment, Gazzaniga's team flashed an image to the right hemisphere, the side that controls the left hand, instructing the patient to stand up. The patient stood up. Then Gazzaniga asked why. The left hemisphere, which had not seen the instruction, did not say, "I do not know." It said, "I wanted to stretch my legs." Smooth, immediate, consonant, completely fabricated. Your brain does this constantly. You make a decision about a person, a purchase, a belief, and milliseconds later your interpreter generates a rational story about why you made it. You experience that story as the truth, as your actual reasoning. But it is a press release, not a diary. It is the official version your conscious mind releases to itself after the decision has already been made somewhere else. This is why you can hate someone and tell yourself it is because of something they did, when really it is because of something they reminded you of. This is why you can be deeply wrong about something for years and feel completely certain the entire time. This is why the most dangerous person in any argument is not the person who is lying. It is the person who is lying without knowing it. The person whose brain has already resolved the dissonance so cleanly that no evidence of the conflict remains. Psychologist Elliot Aronson, a student of Festinger who spent his career extending the dissonance research, found something that should make you uncomfortable. The smarter you are, the better you are at this. Higher cognitive ability does not make you less susceptible to self-deception. It makes you more capable of constructing convincing internal narratives that justify what you already wanted to believe. Intelligence, in this context, is not a defense against delusion. It is a tool for building more elaborate ones. So why did evolution build you this way? Why would natural selection preserve a brain that lies to its owner? Because consistency is survival. In the environment your ancestors lived in, a person who constantly second-guessed their own decisions was a liability. Hesitation cost time. Time in the wrong situation cost lives. A brain that could commit to a course of action and then retroactively convince itself that the course of action was correct was a brain that moved fast, acted decisively, and presented a unified front to the group. Doubt is expensive. Narrative is cheap. And a species that could tell itself a coherent story about why it did what it did was a species that could learn from its past, transmit knowledge to its children, and build cultures that outlasted any single life. The self-deception was not a bug. It was the feature that made civilization possible. But here is the thing Festinger could not have known in 1959. The world you live in now is not the world that system was built for. In a world where decisions compound where the loan you take, the relationship you stay in, the belief you protect can reshape decades of your life, the interpreter is not always your friend. It can keep you loyal to a sunk cost long after the cost has stopped making sense. It can keep you certain in an identity long after the identity has stopped serving you. It can keep you comfortable inside a story about yourself that was written so long ago you do not even remember authoring it. You are not lying to yourself because you are weak. You are lying to yourself because you have a brain that was optimized for a world that no longer exists. Running a program that once kept your ancestors alive, generating a narrative about who you are that feels like memory but is closer to mythology. The accidental discovery Leon Festinger made in a Stanford lab was not just about cognitive dissonance. It was about the fundamental architecture of human identity. The self is not something you have. It is something your brain constructs, moment by moment, to keep the story coherent. And you told yourself a lie today. Now you know why it felt so much like the truth.